It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome a champion from the NFL ranks. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the 5th round of the 1994 NFL Draft and later helped the Packers win Super Bowl 31 against the New England Patriots. During his time in Green Bay, he rushed for 1,000 or more yards twice, and, with plays such as this, made him a selection to the Pro Bowl after the 1997 season.
1st and 10 at the 13. Here's Levens on the screen pass. Blocking in front, touchdown, Packers. Great block by Frank Winters. Did you see that? He got out there, one eye and all, shield on his face, made the block that put Levens in the end zone. A textbook play by the Packers.
In 2004, he was signed by the Philadelphia Eagles as a free agent and appeared in Super Bowl 39 that year. He retired during the 2006 offseason, and in 2009, he was elected to the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. We now welcome Dorsey Levens to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Right now, with your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream edition of Listen In with KNN. Presented right here on our home station, Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. With me, your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Now we are keeping a football tradition as we inch closer and closer to next week's NFL draft. So I decided to bring in another football expert. I guess continuing to show Green Bay Packers some love. As you all know, on Thursday's show, we welcomed in Lynn Dickey, and now we are staying on the offensive side of the football as I welcome in none other than Dorsey Levens. So yes, I'm showing some love to Go Pack Go. He played 11 seasons in the National Football League with the Green Bay Packers, Philadelphia Eagles, and the New York Giants. And this guy is a Super Bowl champion. So we're talking about the highest of highest levels and continue to do great things after football. So we're going to break it down. All right. So we'll talk the latest and greatest happening in the league now. We'll talk about his career. And yes, we'll talk about life after football. And yeah, I'll make sure he gives us some predictions about the Packers will do in the upcoming NFL draft. So without further ado, please help me welcome none other than Dorsey Levens. Dorsey, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Kelsey. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's so great to see you. First off, I like to do a wellness check with my guest, Dorsey. So how are you feeling? How are you doing? I'm hoping you and the family have stayed very healthy and well amidst this pandemic.
Yes, everybody's healthy and well. Staying healthy. I exercise a lot. So I just got through teaching a spin class live and virtually. I just got home probably about 30 minutes ago. So we're healthy and doing fine.
That's awesome to hear. And that means we'll have high energy, Dorsey. I guess the spin class and the energy that you have to exert there will still be in the show. But thank you for joining. I know how busy you are. So again, it's an honor and privilege to get you on the show. And how fun is it, Dorsey, teaching a spin class? You know, I will tell you, I did 2 spin classes in my life, Dorsey, and they both almost killed me. So I do have to get back there, but I give so many props to you all who are able to do it each and every week.
Yeah, that's part of the process. And I always tell people, especially newcomers, it's always a judgment-free zone. Do what you can until you can do more. Do not try to keep up with me because you'll feel like you're going to die.
Oh, yeah, that was me after.
So I tell people, and the problem with that is that when people feel like that, they don't come back. So I kind of give them an outlet, like, you need to sit down, you need to go a little bit slower. That's fine. I'm not here to hurt anybody. Sweat a little bit, dance to the music, and have a good time.
See, I need to do as my instructor because, like, I'm competitive, so I tried to keep up, Dorsey. And after that class, I was in an ice bath just trying to get my body somehow back together. I'm curious, how did you even get into spinning and cycling classes, Dorsey?
Well, after 11 years in the NFL, my body's a little beat up, just a little bit.
Just to say,
Ankles, knees, hips, you name it. And I want to stay active. And the bike is very low impact. And I enjoy doing it. It's for me, it's the best way to stay in shape, because if I can jog on nature trails a little bit, but the knees start to ache in a little bit, so I don't do it as much as I used to. But really, why I really started teaching spin class? Like, we're being honest, because for the music.
I like that. The music is fun.
Yeah, I'm a hip hop R&B guy, and I won't name any companies, but I'd be in a class, and I'm at the end, and I'm dying.
Yeah.
And then that song that doesn't really resonate with you comes on, and I'm like, this is not going to help me get to where I need to be. So the only way to get my music was to teach the class. So I went from a client to a teacher. Now I have my own company, Solar Cycle. We teach here outside, virtually and in person 3 times a week. And it's a fun way for me to stay in shape.
That's a good answer, Dorsey. Where are you currently living now?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
What a great place to be doing it at, right? I'm sure lots of clients and customers. And I love that you said it's the music. I'm curious, since you said you're a hip hop guy, who are some of your favorite artists?
Man, I'm an old head. Jay-Z's at the top of my list.
Gotta have Jay-Z on the list.
Yeah, Nas. We're talking R&B, obviously. Jay-Z's wife, Beyonce.
Yeah, gotta give the Beehive some love.
Yeah, but really, I'm really partial to New York hip hop, because I grew up in upstate New York.
Yes.
So that was really, really rough. But I still roll with the South. I play a lot of Outkast in my music.
Yeah.
Killer Mike. It's just Jermaine Dupri, Jagged Edge. I know some of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really just having some good music you can buy. Because to me, if you have good music, even if you're dying, you can still kind of push your way through it, because
right.
You get into it.
As long you hear it, then you just got to keep going, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you just keep moving. See, that is good lessons to everyone out there. That's some good artists. I'm curious, your kids haven't got you on any of the new school? None of the younger artists today, Dorsey, resonate with you?
Well, yeah, I do some of the new stuff, not a whole lot, but some of it. The issue is that where I play my playlist, I have to play the clean version
of course,
the song, and not all the newer artists have the clean version available. And even some of the clean versions are a little ratchet, if you don't.
Like, we don't want to get you in trouble in spin class.
Right.
Completely fair. You touched on growing up in upstate New York, growing up in Syracuse, New York specifically, and now you're even a member of the Greater Syracuse Sports Hall of Fame. So let's talk about the early beginnings, young Dorsey, and how you first got into playing football and growing your love for the sport.
Well, I think growing up, my dad was always a big Cowboys fan, so that's where it started, just watching games with him. Yeah. I remember one day I was probably eight years old, and the kid on the end of my street was playing Pop Warner football, and he came outside and he had his uniform on, and I literally fell in love with the uniform. I was like, oh my God, I need to get me one of those, like, day. So I ran home, I told my parents, and probably that was a Saturday, midweek. We went to where the practice field was, but they were already halfway through the season, so I couldn't play. The following year, I played Little League, and that was it, man. I played running back right out the gate. I wore number 33. Because my name was Dorsey, you couldn't tell me I wasn't Tony Dorsett. Played for the Cowboys. That was my guy. And then from there, man, I've always been a very active kid. It's weird now looking back. I have a 6-year-old son.
Yeah.
And all the things that, like, my aunts and uncles used to say to me back when I was his size, I say to him, calm down, relax. You're doing too much. Sit down somewhere, relax. Heavy-handed. Why are you hitting me? And I remember hearing that. Stop hitting me. You're so heavy-handed when I was
when you were younger, yeah.
Yeah. But that's it, man. Syracuse was a pretty tight-knit community. Mm-hmm. My grandmother worked for Parks and Recreation, so I was like her sidekick. We park to park and make sure everything, she did her job. I played with the kids. And I fell in love with basketball as well. You know, I was a high school All-American in basketball as well as football.
Mm-hmm.
Just for me, it was just it was always just staying active. My friends, we would meet at parks and we would play football games or basketball games. Never stayed in the house. Obviously, it's a different time we live in now.
Right, right.
But I would ride my. You know, it's crazy. I was training at a young age, even on a bicycle, because I would ride my bike everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse is not that big, and I think that's how I got stronger than most people, not even knowing what I was doing.
Right. The biking will do that, right?
Well, right. But,
Muscles.
yeah, when you're 13 or 14, I'm just trying to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Of exercising, but that's really, you know, that's how it happened. You know, like I said, really small knit community. I'm still really good friends with a lot of my people back there. A bunch of family. I got like literally, we were counting. I think on my mom's side, my grandmother's responsible for 54 people.
Wow.
Yeah. She had 12 kids, right?
Wow.
As mom had 8 kids. So I literally have about 80 or 90 family members back in Syracuse.
Geez. So your family reunions are huge, like whole block, everyone is like covered for. That's huge. Have you gotten a chance to go back to Syracuse anytime lately, Dorsey?
I went back in the fall. I went up, check on my dad. He wasn't feeling well, so I went up there to see him. Hung out with my friends, did some fishing up at Black Lake, which is really cool, man. It's just it's upstate New York is really, really pretty in the fall.
Yeah. You
know, with all the different the trees changing colors. A little colder than I would like, which is why
why you're in Atlanta now.
Right. But just really, you know, just hanging out with the guys, fishing, telling old stories. You know, Syracuse really has a place in my heart. Obviously, being born and raised there, but all love.
Yeah, a very special place in your heart. And to that point, for you, then, how did it feel for you when you became a member of the Greater Syracuse Sports Hall of Fame? Right? There's no love like love from your hometown. What did it mean to be up there with the greatest of greats from your area? You know,
it felt good because really, when you're in the moment, you don't think about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just go out there and you play. You want to win. You want to have fun.
Right.
But to be recognized, you know, with all the great people who came out of that area, the people that I looked up to growing up.
Right.
You know, a lot of players from Syracuse University. You know, Robert Drummond comes to mind, who was a Syracuse guy who excelled up there. Scott Schwades. There were a lot of guys in the area that I looked up to.
Right.
And it really gave me the confidence to know that if they came from these schools that I'm playing against, and they made it not only to college but to the NFL, then I could do it too. I had a chance. You know, nothing's guaranteed,
right.
But it gave me hope.
Yeah, and the hope carried you, like you said, to the National Football League, playing at the highest of levels, Dorsey. And I love that you touched on in high school, All-American running back. You also played basketball, which I think is phenomenal to see. And I'm curious, what do you think of the talk now, right? We're telling kids to be multi-sport athletes, but we do see some kids, Dorsey, now just sticking to one particular sport. So where do you stand on that? Do you want to see kids in high school kind of getting their skills in everything, or would you rather them just own in on one sport and kind of be a master of that?
Yeah, you know, everybody's different. You know, for my son, I try to get him to do multiple things. You know, football. Well, I was trying to keep him away from football because of the head injury stuff. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. But soccer, baseball, football, just keeping him active and just find out what he loves to do, and then doing that. For me, basketball was really it wasn't a favorite sport. You know, I was in love with football, but I played more basketball, if you will. It's hard to get together 22 people on the field.
Right. For football game,
right. You know, we were, like I said, I was heavy into the parks.
Yeah.
So you go to the park, you get a 5-on-5 anywhere, anytime, pretty much. So that was my big thing. I just, I love playing baskbasketball.
Yeah.
You know, so there was that. And then, you know, football is only, in Syracuse, there's only like 10 to 12 week season.
Right.
Have more time to play football, and especially when it's cold outside in the wintertime.
Right.
After probably elementary school.
Yeah.
The snow's not fun anymore. It's cold.
Oh no. Yeah. Like it's cold outside.
Right. Yeah. When you're in elementary school, though, it's fun. You know, you don't.
Right. When you're younger, you don't care.
You know, so we can be doing that's a little warmer, maybe.
Right. Right. Yeah, so. But it prepared you because of all places that you had to play in Green Bay, where it gets pretty cold, Dorsey.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's weird. I had conversations with my agent before I got drafted. He said, where would you like to play ideally? Like if you could pick where you go. I was like, oh, probably the Giants, because it's a 4-hour drive from the house. They needed a running back.
Yeah.
That's where he goes, well, where don't you want to go?
And what'd you say?
One word. 2 words.
Yeah. Of all places.
He's like, why? I was like, because it's cold.
Yeah.
They're winning. I've never seen them in the playoffs.
Right.
I don't even know where Green Bay is. Right. And then he goes, well, they got that guy, the quarterback from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he didn't do anything in Atlanta. That's why they shipped out to Green Bay. Why? Tell me why I should be excited again.
Right.
I was excited about Reggie White because I knew who he was.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, and then he calls me on draft day. He goes, listen, and I'm already mad because I thought I would go somewhere around the 3rd round and the 5th round here, and I'm still hanging around.
Right.
So I'm in my feelings, and he calls me. He's like, hey, listen, Ron Wolf from the Packers is going to call you, and they're going to draft you.
Mm.
I can't say what I said to him. Right?
Okay.
But it wasn't friendly or nice.
Yeah.
But then once I got drafted, it settled in that, you know what, this is my dream.
Right.
I'm here. I didn't go where I wanted to go, but I got a chance. And what it did was fuel me.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like thinking you're this good.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks you're this good.
Yeah.
Now I had a chip on my shoulder and I had something to prove.
Mm.
And the guys in Green Bay will tell you, man, I had a guy I was competing against at fullback at the times. I came in as a fullback.
Right.
He came up to me one day in training camp, and I thought he was my main competition. So he would try to play head games to try to get me out of my game. And he comes up to me one day. He goes, man, the linebackers hate your guts. I said, well, that's good because I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make the team.
Right. Right. That means I'm doing my job.
Right. So if they hate me, then good. Then I'm in the right place.
Yeah, that's powerful. And it's so funny, the place that you didn't want to go, you ended up going and excelling in, Dorsey, right, at the highest of levels. And I love that you touched on the draft, saying that you should have went higher. We're going back to the 1994 draft when you got drafted. And Dorsey, you saw 17 other running backs get drafted ahead of you. What was going through your head at that time? Like, how do you keep yourself motivated? Because, of course, we know in the National Football League that there's many guys, didn't matter where they're drafted, i.e. Tom Brady, that turn out to be great, i.e. you. But, like, how did you keep your psyche straight and right, just knowing that you were so talented, but somehow the GMs weren't seeing it?
Well, you question your talent.
Mm-hmm.
These are experts who've been in the field of football forever. This is how they make a living. And at the time, I didn't think they made mistakes. They watch all this film. They spend the whole year scouting guys, going to games.
Right.
So obviously they know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Mm.
And the guys who were getting drafted ahead of me that I thought I was better than,
yeah,
it lit a fire under me, really, because I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Maybe I do have to work harder.
Right.
That's what I did. It was really Green Bay. The whole experience was a blessing in disguise because I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me on draft day.
Yeah.
It turned out to be the best thing that could have ever happened.
Right.
And I did this because I ended up going to New York one year, right? Mm-hmm. And if I had gone to New York as a rookie, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'd have been one of those guys. The average NFL career is like 2.7 years, right? It's not even a complete 3 years. So there's so many guys that come through and out that you never even hear of.
Right.
If I had gone to New York, I wasn't mature enough to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that until I got to New York when I was 32.
Okay.
So I fell into my career.
Right.
I would have partied myself out of the league the first 2 years in New York.
Yeah, a lot of distractions.
Right. I almost did when I was 32. And I was like, this is why this wouldn't have been a good look for me.
Yeah.
But what happened in New York, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but I tried to get released because I was like, this is not going to work.
Mm.
So instead of releasing me, they made me inactive for 4 weeks.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So I went out and I partied in New York.
You weren't doing much, right? So, yeah.
Right. Why not? I'm in New York. I'm not playing. I'm going to go party. And very rarely did I get back through the tunnel going into New Jersey before the sun came up.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Green Bay was the best thing that happened to me. And people in Green Bay get upset when I say there's nothing to do in Green Bay. Right.
Yeah. It's like Utah, I guess, right? Sorry, people in Utah.
Right. There are lots of things to do, just not things that I do. Like I don't hunt. I'm damn sure not going ice fishing.
Let me either.
Right. What I'm saying, it's like it's cold most of the time or overcast, so I'm in the house.
Right.
But what Green Bay did was gave not only me but our whole team a chance to just focus
Yeah.
on football. Right. There weren't going to be any concerts.
Right.
There weren't going to be any big parties at the nightclubs.
Right.
There were no big nightclubs. Everything was like a little hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the perfect setting to focus on one thing: football.
And that's why you were there, right? I mean, the distractions are there, but I think that's so important, especially as we look at next week, Dorsey, we have the NFL drafts. I feel like you said so many positive tidbits for the NFL hopefuls, but what would your biggest piece of advice be for these NFL future draftees, right? Because unfortunately, you said the NFL playing career, the average is short. Like you said, most of those guys, we won't even know, and sometimes you meet somebody on the street like, yeah, I played in the National Football League. You might not even know them. So what would your advice be to focus in on football for the draftees and somehow not get distracted by everything out there? Because one, you have the cities that are distracting people. Social media, Dorsey, right, is the new thing that's also distraction. So what would you say to them?
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is football. You're here to play football. That's the number one focus. That should be your number one priority.
Yeah.
Just like we talked about, doesn't matter where you were drafted.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you're I mean, we've seen Heisman Trophy winners do absolutely nothing when they get to the NFL.
Right.
Right. So none of that stuff matters. When you get there, you have to play. You have to play hard. You have to know what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, we met ad nauseum out there about everything. I remember when I first got to the league, I'm like, this is gonna be cool. Like, we should be done by lunchtime. Like, how much football can we do? Right? Like 4 hours. Wrong. 8 to 5, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Right. So you're expected to know everything because there's no room for error.
Right.
If you can't figure it out, there's another guy. Right. The draft is every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job every single year.
Exactly right.
And if guys tell you, maybe guys like Tom Brady don't watch the draft because his job's secure.
Right. He's safe.
Everybody else, you're like, whoa. Like when they draft a running back, you're like, uh-oh. Like what's going on here? But that's the nature of the beast. There are so many guys that come in and out of that revolving door at every facility.
Yeah.
I've met several guys that came and was like, yo, Doris, what's up? I was like, hey, hi, what's up? Hi. I was with you in Green Bay. I was like, for real?
Oops.
But when I say revolving door, there are guys who are there. They'll sign guys on a Monday and they won't even make it to the end of the week. But there's guys who will play for 2 weeks and then they're gone.
Right.
So you do forget people because there's so many different people that come in and out.
Right.
It's so my thing for the newcomers would be focus on the most important thing, which is football. I remember my first training camp, ironically, was in Arizona because the indoor facility in Green Bay wasn't done, and there was a snowstorm at the end of April.
But
right?
Yeah.
Green Bay, Alaska. And after the first mini camp, I remember talking to my best friend. He's like, "So what do you think?" I was like, "Dude, everybody's good. Like, no bums out here. It's not like college where you might have some walk-ons or you may have some guys whose parents donated some money to a certain fund so they're on the team.
Right.
There's none of that in the NFL. Either you can play or you're not there.
Yeah, one of two.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't even know how they're going. I was terrified because I'm like, I don't know how they're going to cut anybody because nobody's bad. Like,
right.
There's nobody who stinks out here. How do you figure out who you're going to keep and who you're not going to keep?
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things too. Is I've never been on a team where you had to make it.
Yeah.
Right. You got a scholarship in college and high school. You have to make it. We only had 33 guys on our team.
Right.
And went all off the street. We needed more bodies.
Right.
Right. But from April when I'm drafted, up in Green Bay, there were a bunch of free agents too. There were about 20 of us up there.
Right.
We became really good friends. And then it was time for the first round of cuts. And it goes from 80 to like 60.
Right.
And there's a note when you go up the stretch, you're like, yo, what happened? You're looking around.
Right.
Like,
where is everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, some of the guys that you spent the whole summer with who were hopeful like you, they don't make it. Realize you find out very fast that this is a business.
Yeah.
This is a business. And They don't care about your feelings.
Right.
They don't care about what you did in college.
They're there to make money, right?
Can you help us win?
Yeah.
If not, the door is that way.
Yeah. It's the harsh reality, right, of playing in the national.
Yeah. That's just the way it is. That's how it goes.
Yeah. And it's so true. I think when you bounce off of that, we can actually look at the situation in Green Bay now with y'all quarterback, right? We got Aaron Rodgers. I know he's having fun hosting Jeopardy and things, but a guy that's proven, right, Dorsey? And, we see what happens with Jordan Love. And, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to talk to Aaron, but what did you think of that whole situation, right? Talking about feeling secure. Aaron Rodgers just came off an MVP season. Again, I don't need to say his stats, Dorsey. We all know it. Aaron Rodgers is great, right? One of the greatest quarterbacks right now in the National Football League. So, handling that, how do you handle a new guy coming in, still knowing you're great, but also maybe feeling like, how is the team that I love not showing me love back?
Yeah, I thought that was if I was Aaron, it would have been a difficult situation for me, especially knowing the fact that Mercedes Lewis, the tight end that they signed from, I know he was in Jacksonville for a long time, but was the only first round receiver that he'd ever thrown a touchdown to.
Right.
So for them to need more weapons around him because he's getting a little long in the tooth and his time is getting short.
Right. He's older.
I thought they would have drafted somebody to help him out.
Right.
And to go that long, I thought that was a little weird. But think about what happened with Aaron when he got there and Brett was there.
Very true. Yeah.
Right? It's kind of the same scenario, but it goes back to what we talked about. Talking to the younger guys. Here's the reality of it, guys.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame guys can get cut.
Yeah.
They get traded. Father Time is still undefeated.
It's true.
Brady's putting up a good fight though.
He is. He somehow keeps pushing it back.
Yeah. He's hanging in there. But for most of us mortals, when we got to step aside, your body no longer responds the way it used to.
Right.
So you got to move on. But yeah, for Aaron, it's I'm sure it motivates him too.
Yeah. I mean, look at the season he just had, Dorsey. Literally proved himself to the highest level.
Exactly. And that happens when you have somebody breathing down your neck.
Yeah, it's true. And then I think for you too, it's not foreign to you because we can go back to when you were at Notre Dame, right before you transferred to Georgia Tech. You were the featured running back. And we look at, before you were injured, beating out Jerome Bettis, right? Ricky Waters, right? I mean, wow. And those aren't small names, people, right? No,
man, we had so much talent. I mean, and those guys are the names. I know Jerome's in the Hall of Fame. Ricky should be in the Hall of Fame. But there are a bunch of guys that didn't get to that level, but also had nice NFL careers. My running back room, my sophomore year, there were 11 of us. 10 of us went to the NFL.
Wow.
2 guys, Jeff Burris and Willie Clark, moved to defense and still went to the league. Actually, both got drafted higher than I got drafted. But there was Tony Brooks, Reggie Brooks, Anthony Johnson. We had a kid down here, Spears, who was supposed to be the next Herschel Walker, but he had some injuries, so he never it never really panned out. But we had so much talent up there, so much talent, and that's why when it was time for me to leave, the host was like, "Hey, peace."
I got some people.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. You'll be fine.
To that point, we have a question from the fans. What was it like playing for Lou Holtz?
It was different, man. Lou was a great motivator. At the same time, I thought he had maybe a little bit of a Napoleon complex.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it had to do with the pressure he was under to win at Notre Dame, because when I got there, they were just coming off a national championship.
Right.
So I mean, it was. He's a tough coach. You know what I mean? He's in your face, get it right, or go sit on the sideline type of guy. But he was effective. We won games.
Right. And that's what it was all about, especially in the college level, right? Program like you were in. And curious, what ultimately led you to play at Notre Dame, Dorsey?
I thought it was a perfect combination of athletics and academics at the time.
Okay.
I was a pretty good student. I was a straight A student in high school.
Look at that. We need to hear that more, Dorsey, because we don't get to hear that side of the athletes, the student athletes. People forget that student part first.
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew from an early age that if I could get my books right, everything else would follow. And I don't think I'm like the smartest guy in the world, but I got 2 scholarships. I got a scholarship offer from Harvard.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Yeah. And I never thought, I'm like, Harvard must have made some mistakes or something. They must not have looked at my transcript the right way. But at the time, I thought Notre Dame was the perfect combination. And I think my issue was maybe I watched too many Animal House movies, and I thought college was going to be fun.
Yeah.
Wild parties, toga parties, hanging out the window. Yeah, none of that at Notre Dame. It's a small Catholic school.
Right.
They honor their Catholic values. So there wasn't a whole lot to do.
Right.
On the flip side of that, I come down here to Atlanta to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is kind of the same thing. This same environment kind of on. Well, no, that's not the same environment. It's a little looser because it's not, a Catholic school.
Right.
My RA my freshman year lived right across the hall from me, and he was a priest.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a buzzkill, right?
You just shh.
Yeah.
My hurries across the hall.
And they had this thing at Notre Dame called paritos that I'd never heard of. I probably should have asked before I signed to go there. Where you couldn't have members of the opposite sex in your dorm after 11 p.m. or before 10 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. So they, like I said, they honored their Catholic values, and everything was, and if you got caught,
yeah,
they were kicking you out of school. No questions.
Wow.
I get down here. Georgia Tech it's a good academic institution.
Right.
But I'm in downtown Atlanta.
And there's lots of people in Atlanta.
Best of both worlds. And I got the AUC, which is Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, Atlanta, and Morris Brown, a mile and a half from my campus.
Yeah.
That was when Freaknik was at its highest peak.
Yeah.
Right. So I was in heaven down here.
Yeah. What a change.
Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't tell me. You could. Yeah. It was perfect for me. Atlanta. Yeah. That's why I'm still here.
Never left. It just felt never left. Such a great city. I mean, your career at Georgia Tech was phenomenal, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. Elected captain, even though you transferred, which I think is huge. And it says a testament, I think, right, to who you are, that your teammates believed in you. First team All-Atlantic Coast Conference performer. And then you became friends, right, with Dominique Wilkins at the time.
Yeah. Dominique, man. I was seeing Dominique tells a funny story, man. He said, Dorsey, man, I was in high school. He said he was big and strong and athletic.
Yeah.
He ran track and he played basketball, obviously. And he said the football coach was like, hey man, I think you're what we need. Big, strong, fast wide receiver. He's like, yeah, you're right. He talked him into it. Nick said he went out there. He said the first day of practice, full pads, they were scrimmaging.
Yeah.
He didn't understand the terminology or anything. He said, coach said, listen, just run down straight 10 yards.
Yeah.
Turn across the middle. We're going to throw you the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is easy. I got this.
Right.
He does his 10-yard in. He goes to catch the ball, and somebody lights him up.
He gets laid out.
He said, Dorsey, my equipment might still be on the ground right now. I took it, and I left it there, and I never picked it up again. He was like, I don't know how to do it.
I'm going to bounce my basketball.
Yeah. He's like, nobody's going to blindside me on the basketball court.
I think that's such a great story. But just going back to right now we're having a lot of conversation about players transferring, right? Dorsey and the transfer portal. But for you, what was kind of the best insight that you could give somebody that's looking at transferring and hopefully looking to make an impact on that next level, right? Because overall you transfer because you're trying to get more looks, Dorsey, right? You're trying to find the right program, the right fit for you. So any insight into that? Just
do some research.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can you talk about your research? Like how did you determine Georgia Tech was best for you?
Well, there was a coach named George O'Leary who also went on to coach. I think he coached Central Florida for some years. Mm-hmm. But he was on a Syracuse staff when I was in high school here. And then he went to Georgia Tech. And then when I was transferring, he got in touch with me. He's like, listen, they were just coming off a co-national championship year.
Right.
He was like, I know things didn't work out for you there, but I think we have an opportunity here for you. Like I said, I went to Atlanta, and I fell in love with Atlanta right out the gate.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
Yeah, right. I remember going to bed that first night thinking, I hope the campus and the football stadium and the facilities look good because I pretty much already made up my mind.
Yeah, I'm going to be here.
Right. So hopefully everything is on the up and up when I go see it tomorrow.
Right.
But yeah, really just do your research. And with that being said, keep in mind that nothing's guaranteed, man. Yeah, that those are one of the some of the best life lessons I've learned playing ball is that nothing's guaranteed. You can work hard, you can do everything perfectly, and it's the way the stars align.
Right.
I've had a bunch of injuries there, like we talked about, guys winning Heisman trophies and not panning out in the NFL. You almost got to be in the right place at the right time in the right situation. That's why I think I excelled in Green Bay. Right time, right place, right situation.
Yeah, very well said. Very well.
Yeah, but as far as transferring, man, and I think after you've already been somewhere for a year or two, you have a better understanding of how everything works. You know, I think one of the things you do too is, as a young guy, you believe what the coaches who are recruiting you tell you.
Right.
Sometimes. I remember, it's crazy, Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky from Penn State.
Yeah.
They were recruiting me as a linebacker. And I was like, you know, and they have a great history of linebackers at Penn State.
Right.
So I said, no, thanks, but no thanks. I'm a running back. That's what I want to do.
Right.
They fly to Syracuse, sit in my living room. You know what? We watched your tape. You're right. We think you'll be a great running back. And I was like, nah, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
Right. For me to get there, then you switch my position.
There and they go, Levens, linebackers.
We're not doing that.
Right. So I think just try to gauge people's sincerity, especially coaches, because their job is to try to get the best person on their team, right? And they're recruiting more than one person at your position.
Right.
Most of them will be honest with you, though. They'll say, listen, you may say no and go someplace else, so we have to recruit some other guys. You know, really just laying the facts out there.
Right.
You know, and being comfortable with the facts. Am I going to get an opportunity to play? Is this the best situation for me? Who's in front? Who did they just sign?
Very important. Yep.
Yeah. You and I did that in college. I went through the whole roster. You know, how many running backs, who's playing, how many years does he have left? Yeah. You got to know all those things.
Yeah, you do. You got to know the history of the team. Like you said, you want to know what you're coming into, because you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation, especially if you're trying to play on the next level. But like you said, sometimes you don't know. When you get to a school, you think it's going to be a perfect fit, and it just isn't, right? You need to transfer. And obviously that happened with you.
It happened twice, because when I got to Georgia Tech, I was supposed to be the power back. The downhill, we're going to give you the ball 30 times a game, and we just let's do it. Bobby Ross and that coaching staff, the year after I sat out, you know, I know the rules are different now, which is great for college guys. You can just leave and play immediately.
Right.
But that whole coaching staff left. Bill Lewis comes in from East Carolina. He has a run and shoot offense. One running back, 4 wide receivers. We didn't have that personnel at Georgia Tech.
Right.
We were 2 backs, regular, 2 wide receivers, a tight end. Luck would have it, I had the best hands out of the running backs. So guess who gets moved to receiver my junior year?
Yeah.
Right. Plans, talk about plans not going according to plan.
Right. You didn't have that in your plans. Right. But then lo and behold, look at what you did. But you did the job that was asked of you, and turned out pretty good.
It turned out pretty good. So I played wide receiver in my junior year. For whatever reason, they put me back at tailback that spring. And then my senior year, I averaged like 7.4 yards a carry. So I got a chance. I really, honestly, I had given up on my NFL dream when I moved to wide receiver. I really did, because I know football enough. I've been playing since I was 9 years old.
Right.
I know what an NFL wide receiver looks like, and it's not me. I know what an NFL running back looks like. That's what I look like.
Right.
But I was playing wide receiver. Talk about blessings in disguise, though. I'm upset that whole year, because things are not this. I transferred down here, and this is, what I'm saying, it's not going to court. This is not what I signed up for.
Right.
But that year as a receiver helped me out tremendously. If you look at my receiving stats in the NFL and playing with one of the best quarterbacks ever, that actually helped prepare me for my next job, because I wasn't a passing offense and a West Coast offense where we passed the ball more than we threw it.
Right.
So once again, at the time, I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened, but it turned out to be a blessing.
Turned out to be okay. And that's sometimes what happens in life, right? You put yourself in a situation, you don't know how it's going to turn out. You might think it's bad, but sometimes it turns out for the better. And of course, Dorsey, your stats speak for itself, right? There's a reason why you're in the Green Bay Hall of Fame, and it's so great to see that. And speaking of which, also, Dorsey, I do want to touch on going back to Green Bay and talking about quarterbacks. You had a quarterback that's been in the news lately, Dorsey, and I knew people were going to ask you this. I'm so curious your comments on it. But what do you think about Brett Favre's recent comments about anything race related? Obviously, we're going through a difficult time right now in this country, Dorsey.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, I know you see these things firsthand. I mean, you lived, right, as a Black man in America. So just curious your thoughts on that. This one's from Jamel Cutler.
Obviously, I wasn't happy hearing about it, you know, as one of my former teammates. But then when I sat down and I thought about it, he's from Mississippi, and he's a good old boy. And that's the way he was raised.
Right.
So that mentality was ingrained in him from when he was this big. Just because you go and play a few years with some people that look like me and they help you win, mindset is already there. And now you're not interacting with those guys anymore. He's about 10 years removed from interacting with these guys. So now he's back in his little bubble in Mississippi. And that mindset is prevalent in Mississippi. Right. You know, a lot of the Southeast, if we're being honest. But I remember I've been to Mississippi, and I can say this because I'm not going back.
No one's coming for you, Dorsey.
Right. But my kid's mom, her dad lives in Mississippi, so I went down there with her once to go visit him, and I feel like I jumped into a time machine and went back 150 years. You know, it's just a different mindset out there. It's really just a different mind. It's that Confederate mindset.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, not happy about it, but not surprised either, based on, you know, where he's from and how people down there operate.
Right. It's different. Like, and I can say this, my parents are from Jackson, right? So like you, I've been to Mississippi. It's different. I think, like you said, the South, if we're being honest, is different. You know, we've seen some strides. For me, Dorsey, I was so happy to see the Confederate emblem removed from the state flag. I thought that was a step, but it's changing the mindset. This is why we're having these difficult conversations. And to that point, I'm so curious your thoughts on what's happening in the National Football League right now in terms of social justice and the conversations that we're having, right? So, you know, we've continued to have this narrative. We've seen more players speak up and speak out. Of course, you know about what Colin Kaepernick did, but, you know, from your lessons as an NFL player and what you're seeing now, do you think we're moving in the right direction in terms of empowering our athletes to speak out about social injustices? Dorsey, would you like to see more from the National Football League?
I think players are doing a great job of getting the word out there, and guys aren't so afraid to do it anymore. You know, especially the NFL sent a clear message about what Colin Kaepernick did. If you do that, you're not going to play with us anymore. Right? So guys, especially the guys who spoke out initially, right? Those guys were risking a lot. A lot, because you're risking being blackballed from the NFL, and you know they'll do it because of what happened to Kaepernick. Right. But I think we are moving in the right direction. And the biggest thing is that when guys stick together, that's when we can have more change or create change. When one guy's, you know, like I said, Kaepernick, they made an example out of him, and you try to discourage other guys from doing the same thing. Right. So I think we're on the right track. And I know there are a lot of people, you know, just shut up and the shut up and dribble crowd. Right. Just stick to sports. That's what you do. Yeah. As Black men in this country, I'm not sure if there are any other Black men outside of professional Black athletes who have a stronger voice.
Yeah.
So if those guys don't speak out, who's going to speak out?
Right.
You know, people listen to them, that they respect them. Fans admire and adore them. You know, so when they say things, people listen. Right. So I think it's great. Obviously, we got a long way to go. But we're definitely heading in the right direction. Change takes time.
It does. It does. I'm just curious, Dorsey, you seem so passionate talking about this. When for you did you start feeling comfortable talking out and about these issues of social justice? Was it when you were younger, growing up in Syracuse? Was it in high school? Was it in college? Was it in the National Football League?
There wasn't a big deal made about social injustice, and I don't think until more recently. You know, but I've never been afraid to speak my mind. And my dad said that about me when I was probably 13 or 14. Probably some threatening words after it because my mouth would get me in trouble sometimes. But I don't know. It's important to me. I'm a Black man in this country, and I got kids.
Yeah.
We were in Green Bay when all this Kaepernick stuff started, and I remember I was in the player suite, and my daughter was with me at the time, and I think she was probably 15 at the time.
Okay.
And people outside of Kaepernick, there were a handful of people kneeling. So I get with some of my guys. I'm like, hey, what are we gonna do, man? Like I'm not just gonna stand here and not do nothing.
Right.
I know I'm in Green Bay, and guys, before and after, were like, hey, man, you're gonna mess up your money. You don't want to do that. You need to sit back and lay low. And my thing was, my daughter was there with me, and I want to teach her to stand up for what she believes in.
Yeah.
So long story short, the national anthem plays. My fist goes in the air. It's the only fist in the air in the whole stadium. Nobody is kneeling.
No.
One of my teammates told me he was standing right behind me, and he moved so that when they took the picture of me with my fist up, wouldn't be in the background.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's it is what it is.
Yeah.
I speak my truth, and if people don't like it, then so be it.
Right. You are who you are, right? You're authentic and true to yourself, right? You don't prove yourself to anyone.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. That's important, Dorsey. All right. Well, the fans, we're gonna go to a little bit lighter note. They want to keep taking us back. I think they liked your stories. This one should be fun. You hate to go back, but earlier you talked about Freaknik. This Freaknik story that you have, Dorsey, that you're allowed to share with our viewers.
I don't have any that I can share with the viewers.
Look, what's done is done. We're not allowed to hear, but I guess you'll have to experience for yourself.
Yeah, that was that's one of those unforgettable things. I've had friends from all over the Southeast come to my dorm. We're like 10 deep in the college dorm.
Yeah.
It's a party everywhere.
Yeah.
You get in your car and then the party starts. Everywhere, everywhere.
That's all everyone needs to know. There's parties everywhere. Lots of good memories that Dorsey will take to his grave. We're not allowed to hear that. Here's another fun one from fans going back. Do you think Notre Dame will win a championship within the next 3 years?
No.
That was quick and easy.
Yeah, I just don't think anybody can compete with the teams in the SEC right now.
Right.
There's so many powerhouses. They recruit so well. I don't know if it's something in the water down here in the South, but I've always said I've never met more naturally strong guys than Southern guys. Like strong, no reason at all. Like just wake up.
They wake up strong, right?
Yeah. But you see it now on the football field too. All these Southern guys are staying in the Southeast, whereas before, I thought when I was growing up, people spread out more around the country.
Right.
Now it seems like the kids in the South, probably with the success from Alabama or just the entire SEC in general.
Right.
Somebody in the SEC seems are always in the national championship race.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I right now, SEC and then the ACC is obviously I think right behind them. Clemson could probably mix in with a lot of SEC teams.
Right.
And some other teams too. Georgia Tech, we're kind of rebuilding. So it's going to take us a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
Not within the next 3 years.
Not within the next 3 years. I don't see it.
Well, if it makes you feel better, my Maryland Terrapins won't be winning in the next 3 years either, Dorsey. So I'm right there with you, right? We're trying to build our football program, so I get to seeing that it's not there. And going back to football, Dorsey, let's go back to 2002. You're playing in Philadelphia. You're an avid moviegoer, much like me, and you took acting classes, right? Well, you're also playing with the Eagles. What was that like? Because obviously now you're into acting, but how did you just act on pursuing your other passions outside of football?
So I was already a big movie buff before I got to Green Bay, but once I got to Green Bay, I had a whole bunch of time.
Right, to do movies.
To watch movies, right? And then I just got curious about it. What it would be like on the other side of the camera. So I took acting classes. I've been in stage plays. I co-wrote and produced a stage play here. And actually, we performed it at Georgia Tech.
Nice.
Yeah, I was in We Are Marshall with Matthew McConaughey back in.
Great movie.
I've literally had probably 5 auditions here in the last 2 weeks here in Atlanta. There's a lot of filming going on down here. I filmed for a couple of Marvel movies. Oh, I can't even tell you that. I'm sorry. I didn't do that.
We're keeping it.
Don't worry about the NDA I signed. Don't even worry about but I'm auditioning for movies. I work with Tyler Perry. I was on Medea tour, Medea on the Run.
I know that was fun.
Yeah, that was a great time, man. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. I did 8 episodes of For Better or Worse, one of his sitcoms. I had a real small cameo on Good Girls, the show that I love that they filmed here in Atlanta as well. So I still act, and if I could book more gigs, I would, because I'm still always auditioning. There's always talk about staying humble, right? They tell you no a lot around here.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. It's a hard business to get into, but you play football, right? It's hard, and you know what it is to keep a job. But like you said, and this is why I think I always preach, Dorsey, staying humble and not being humbled, right? Because when you have to be humbled, it's a shock, right? You're like, man. But when you just stay humble, I think good things come to you. But like you said, Atlanta's the place to be. You got Tyler Perry Studios down there. Seems like you see so many movie productions, and it seems like things are revving back up, right? Because COVID, fingers crossed, right? Getting better. Yeah. And it's exciting. So is acting kind of this next phase of your career, Dorsey? I know you're doing the cycling classes. You've done a lot, right, for life after football.
Yeah. So what I tried to do after football was focus on the things that I like to do.
Yeah.
And find a way to monetize them.
Yes, because we need money. Atlanta, look, you want to get some money.
But also, to just do the things that I love. Also outside, like I said, if I could have a full-time job acting right now, it would already be done.
Yeah.
It just hasn't come to fruition. But also I have a mindset program that I developed called Remind. Mm-hmm. Is based on changing the way we think or our perspective on the world, so we stress less.
Right.
Stress is there's a stat that says 70% of Americans are taking medicine for stress or stress-related illnesses. So this mindset program helps reduce stress by looking at the world in a different perspective. You see my shirt, change the way you look at the world, and the world you look at will change.
Yes, I love that. And
it's really true. Yeah. And what happened with me is once I really started to practice it, because it's kind of like, it's like physical working out, but it's a mental workout.
Right.
It's like physically, the more you do, the stronger you become. Except with my program, you become stronger mentally. So the next time somebody cuts you off in traffic, your whole day is in ruin because you lost your mind over something that you couldn't control.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I really love doing that because also it helps people, but it also helps keep me in the mind frame of what I'm thinking. Right. Because your thoughts control your emotions. Mm-hmm. So if you're upset about something, it's because of the way you're thinking about it.
Right.
So when you change the way you think about things, then things change.
I like that. Look, many people can sign up for the stress reliever.
Yes. Actually, I'm on Instagram at the Remind Academy. It's RE period.
Okay.
There's a play on words. Remind, as meaning that most of us know the right things to do.
Yeah.
But we just need reminders. Mm-hmm. I have reminders in the form of quotes. But also remind in the period after the RE, because the prefix re means to change, right? Or do over. So we're going to change the way we think or look at the world.
Yeah, I like that. I see why Harvard sent you that letter, Dorsey. I'm seeing it working. I think that's so great that you're doing it. Oh my gosh, everyone's trying to put you into other things. They want to know, have you ever considered getting into pro wrestling like Reggie White? Probably because you're still a big guy.
I haven't believed in pro wrestling in quite some time. And I'll tell a story. It's funny because Reggie was gonna fight Steve McMichael, who played for the Bears.
Yeah.
Defensive line. But Steve had come over to Green Bay toward the end of his career to play with us. But they had a wrestling match. Mm-hmm. And everything is choreographed. Right. So they're working together. And Reggie said, I couldn't, after we practiced, I had to stay away from him. We couldn't go out and have dinner.
Right.
He was the mortal enemy, and the public needed to see that they weren't friends.
Yeah.
But it was all it's wrestling. It's pro wrestling.
Right. It's a storyline, right? That's so funny.
You talked about acting. I did an audition 2 days ago for a movie that Rock is doing down here.
Very cool.
Pro wrestling, right? It set him off to a whole nother stratosphere.
Wow. See, that's exciting, Dorsey. But again, it's not in your cards. But look, with acting, you never know. We might see Dorsey Levens acting in a wrestling role. I don't want to let you go, though, without talking about the concussions issue. Now, this is something that you have spoke out about. When you look back at your career and, you look at the safety of the game today, have we made enough strides to really protect our players, Dorsey?
I think they've made strides in the amount of contact guys can have during practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they're doing in college, but I know sometimes you just hit too much.
Right.
Especially in training camp early on, because you have to get ready for the season, and there really is no way around that. I'm not sure what the helmets feel like now. I know I always wore bike helmets because I could feel more of the hits in other helmets.
Okay.
Right. Bike helmets were heavier, but to me, I couldn't feel the hits as much.
Right.
So I always kind of, stay with those helmets. Right now, I don't know what they're wearing, but I know that the NFL, they've made some adjustments, with the concussion protocols and things of that nature.
Right.
But there's still a lot of guys suffering. There are a lot of guys that I know and I play with who are getting money from the concussion settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's money, but the quality of life is not what guys would have hoped for before they started playing football.
Right. It's not the same. Can I ask, do you still have any symptoms from concussions or?
I don't think so. Some other people might think so.
No, you I'm ruling it all out, but I appreciate you speaking on it. And look, when I talk to former players, it is something that comes up, like you said, and it's a real thing.
It is, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary because the thing about it too is that these traumatic brain injuries, sometimes they don't surface until later on in life or down the road. So you can be good right now, and then 5 or 10 years, whether it be early onset Alzheimer's or ALS or all the other stuff that comes along with having too many hits to the head.
Right.
Parkinson's, all these things.
Right.
It is scary. Like I said, I think I'm doing pretty well, but I locked my keys in the house the other day, and you're like, oh my God, am I losing it? Like, oh my, is it happening?
Right.
The first time you forget something, you're like, oh my God, you kind of freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think I'm in good. I think I'm in a very good mental place.
Okay. And that's all we can ask for, right? Being in a good mental place. Again, you seem fit and active and like everything is healthy, but of course we will continue to wish you well. Dorsey, I cannot let you go though without getting your thoughts on the running game in Green Bay. Y'all have been doing some things in Green Bay, right? We can talk about someone like Aaron Jones. I'm just so curious to hear about the running backs game and how you see Green Bay faring next season.
I think they're going to do great. Aaron is a remarkable running back. I love watching him play.
Even if he does take a record or two from you, right?
Yeah, I don't even worry about that anymore. It was what happened here. Look, I'm done. I can't go back and do anything. Everything. My record book is closed.
Right. You're like, I'm good.
Yeah. I wish them all, because if they do well, the team does well. So I love it, man. I love the rookie running back. I'm drawing a blank right now. They drafted from Boston College last year. I think he's really good too. And then they have number 30, Jamal. Drawing a blank again. But I love the running game. Obviously, when I played, we couldn't run the ball enough. I used to always complain, and I
want the ball.
Yeah, run the ball. Let's run it. But I think every running back does that, right? We all want the ball every single play, But obviously, it doesn't work like that. But I think the running game is strong, and it really helps when you have a good quarterback, because that takes the pressure off of you, and you have a wide receiver like Devontae Adams. You need those guys to take away from the pressure from the run game.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff happening in Green Bay. I think definitely a competitor team this upcoming season. And we're looking forward to seeing, I personally at least am looking forward to seeing more Aaron Rodgers on Jeopardy. I thought he did a great job, Dorsey. Dorsey Levens, so enjoyed having you. Before I let you go, can you let the people know where they can follow you and any of your upcoming work?
Yes. So on Instagram, it's Dorsey Levens 25. It was Dorsey _Levens. That has been hacked. And
well, no.
Yeah, and people still like, I get messages every day, text messages. Yo, you okay, man? You haven't posted in like 4 months.
You're
I'm
like,
on the wrong site. You're in the wrong place.
come on over to the new one.
Yeah. Twitter at Dorsey Levens, Facebook, same thing at Dorsey Levens. And that's it. I don't have TikTok because I can't dance. That's it.
You can use it for your spin classes, though. You can make a TikTok in your spin class, Dorsey. Great way to promote. Dorsey Levens, so enjoyed having you. It's been a fun week for me, Dorsey, having Lynn Dickey on and then you. So I've been showing Green Bay some love. We can show love in D.C. to the Green Bay Packers. So again, it's such a joy to have you. Thank you so much for joining me for this special edition. Stay safe and have a great one, Dorsey. Thanks again.
Thanks, you too, Kelsey. Enjoy.
Have a great one. Bye, Dorsey. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning into the special live stream edition of Listen In With KNN. You all just heard from Dorsey Levens again earlier this week. I had Lynn Dickey. I so appreciate you all joining in. Next week will be a very special week for the show because I'll be doing some live NFL draft coverage. So excited about this first NFL draft, serving as a football insider. So be sure to follow all of my social media pages so you all can follow in and stay tuned to the live stream of the NFL draft. So excited to talk about these NFL hopefuls in the next class, the National Football League. Again, thank you so much as always for tuning into the show. A very, very special thanks to everyone that put in questions. Next time even put in where you're calling in from. We're asking your questions from the city and state. And a special thanks to my team. I cannot do it without them. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. You guys see my Band-Aid shot because I just finished getting my vaccine. So finally over that. And hoping everyone gets vaccinated so we can hopefully get back to life soon as we know it. Thanks so much. I will see you all next week. And also check out the audio version of the show that will be coming out later today. Have a great one, everyone. Stay safe. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey on social media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In With KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM, Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In With KNN.
Listen In With KNN on Fox Sports Radio now offers official Kelsey Nicole Nelson apparel in a variety of styles for men and women. Fashionable shirts, leggings, hats, jackets, and more. Order now and get 15% off and free shipping. Just enter promo code KNN. Get your Listen In With KNN wearables today. And check out Listen In With KNN on Fox Sports Radio with Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
You used to hear me on your airwaves or hear me on my hit podcast, but now I'm taking you to the screen. You'll love Elevator Thoughts. We will talk the latest trending in sports. It's game time. What better way to get to know those that visit the show than over some good food and drink? It's time for confessions.